So by all rights, Rick MacLeish and Reggie Leach should have shared the Stanley Cup for Boston in 1972 and not the Flyers in 74. Boston had taken Leach and MacLeish back to back in the 1970 NHL Draft in something that's probably be considered the best 1-2 punch probably in Flyers history. MacLeish eventually ended up with the Flyers sooner than Leach did. Leach was traded for Carol Vadnais, part of that complicated deal, to the Seals and ended up in the second year in that Flyers mini dynasty of the mid 70s. But Rick MacLeish was a goal scorer from the day he was born to the day he unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago from meningitis at age 66. The native of Peterborough shone with the Petes over three big seasons. He scored 24, 50, and 45 games. As the Lindsay native, last campaign, 101 points, 56 assists. Now, he signed his first contract in June of 1970, but for some strange reason, where it's still a head scratcher, he couldn't make the big club. He was eventually packaged in a multiple player deal after skating most of the season with the Oklahoma City Blazers, and this is how the deal went. Now, of course, a native of Kennington, where he played minor hockey, he was a big skater in the '62 Quebec International Pee Wee Hockey Tournament. Now, after spending the first half of his first pro season with the big farm club for Boston, the Blazers, MacLeish was involved in a three-way deal which sent him, Bruce Campbell, Danny Shock, and a first-round pick to the Flyers, Bernie Perrault, and a second-round pick to the Maple Leafs, and Mike Shaky Walton to Boston. MacLeish spent the rest of the '71 season with the Flyers, scoring 2 goals and 4 assists in 26 games. He also had a counter in 4 playoff contests. In the '72 season, he saw his output drop considerably to a single goal and consequently split the year between the Flyers and their AHL affiliate, the Richmond Robins. Now, a lot of people were thinking that Boston made a good trade by getting rid of him because he wasn't showing much results. However, the '73 season for many was the birth of the original version of the Broad Street Bullies and not the French Connection style the Flyers that played the previous years. This was a breakout year for MacLeish. Only thing I can compare it with was Mark Messier's early seasons in the NHL, which also led him to be a multiple point getter. He became the first member of the Flyers to ever score 50 goals in a single campaign. He added 50 assists that year to bring his points total to 100. This was enough to finish fourth in league scoring, only a single point behind Bobby Orr. And of course, in the postseason, the Flyers bet the Stars in the first round and lost in a rough 6-game series against Montreal, where the Flyers won the opening game in Montreal when MacLeish intercepted an errant Frank Mahovlich pass in a puddle of water and scored in overtime. He pushed the Canadiens in overtime in Game 2 as well, but would lose that contest 4-3 and would go on to lose the series 4-1. Now, according to many published reports, he drew his inspiration from something called river skating. Now, his skating and playing styles were greatly enhanced by that, where he developed his smooth, long-striding speed. MacLeish depended on a whipping and accurate wrist shot for the majority of his goals and was the Flyers' first pure goal-scoring sniper. He often used scoring more involved carrying the puck over the blue line, quickly darting to the left and then wrist shooting the puck back to the right against the goaltender. Now, a lot of people were wondering, how come MacLeish never played on Summit Series 72? Well, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. His breakout season was in the 73 campaign, and you're not going to think a guy who only scored 3 goals in 43 pro games is going to turn into one of the big snipers of his era. In the key years with Philadelphia, he scored 50, 32, 38, 22, 49, 31, 26, 31, and 38 before moving on to Hartford and Pittsburgh, and did return to the Flyers in '84 for 29 contests, and also played with the Red Wings in his last season. Now, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. I think he has enough to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I tell you why. He was big. He was a big part of the second most important dynasty of the 1970s behind Montreal, and that break through 2 seasons. Anyway, scored a Stanley Cup winning goal, 24 counters in two playoff series. And of course, '76, he lost most of the campaign to to injury. So, as it stands right now, ladies and gentlemen, the center played the majority of his NHL career after being converted to that position in '71. Now, the injury in '76 really hampered their style. We still don't know if he would have made a big difference. I think he would. You really missed MacLeish in the playoffs. Now, these are the big injuries, ladies and gentlemen. He had lots of them. He had torn ligaments in his arm in the '72 season during Richmond's campaign. He also missed the bad injuries lefty in the '76 season, where Harold Snepps knocked him out in a February 5th '76 game versus Vancouver. He also broke his back in a serious off-season accident where he flipped his van skidding on a wet street on March 4th, '77. Bob Daly, his teammate who was also in the van, was not hurt. MacLeish was hospitalized for nearly a week and had to wear a full body cast for 6. He was healed in time for training camp. He was also severely injured during Philly's April Fool's Day game at LA when his neck was cut in 2 places by Marcel Dion's skate. While killing a penalty, MacLeish had slid right into Dion's skate on a play, and the 2 cuts, one an inch long and another was 3 inches long, required 80 total stitches to close. He did not return until the April 9th regular season finale versus Minnesota. Now, he was highly regarded by the New England Whalers of the WHA, who took him in the first draft, but he didn't decide to sign. He did play in Switzerland for a while, but he was also elected by the Arrows in the '73 WHA draft of established pro players. Now, ironically, he came to the Flyers' '83 camp on a tryout basis and made the opening 9 roster. Now, an avid harness racing fan, he owned standardbred horses during and after his playing days, and of course, considered one of the best wrist shots in NHL history. Now, the man he called Hawk remained in the Philadelphia area in southern New Jersey and went into financial services and insurance business after he retired, worked with an Equitable Financial Service in Cherry Hill, and was later one of the partners at Financial Options Incorporated in Linwood, New Jersey. Now, his passage took us all by a shock. Now, in the early 2000s, he started having some health problems. He suffered a heart attack during the Flyers alumni game and had cardiac bypass surgery the next day. MacLeish's diabetes was always a factor as well. Now, on May 11, 2016, MacLeish's daughter announced her father had been battling multiple medical problems for the last 6 weeks in a Philly hospital, and of course, he died of meningitis just a few weeks later. Now, his wife Charlene and 2 daughters, Brianna and Danielle, are obviously keeping the MacLeish legacy going, and they're involved in a lot of Flyers off-ice activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, Boston traded away a 50-goal scorer for Mike Shaky Walton, and as we know, it was a bad trade all around because Bernie came back as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of how Rick MacLeish became a Philadelphia Flyer. If you like what we're doing here, we're a Flyer Tribute podcast. Let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.